out here in the breakfast room because the next stage is making the dresser unit for here. So in this, actually the coffee stuff's going to go on this side, but this just because it's clear space at the minute. So we're just deciding roughly, and there's a glass door going here, so this is just representing how deep this unit is going to be. So we decided it's going to be 400mm deep, the unit. So that's, I think a typical wall unit's like 290mm or something, so a fair bit deeper, and it means we can shut the doors behind all the coffee machines. So I think I mentioned before, this is a completely custom unit. You can't really buy anything like this, but we've bought some doors which we're kind of building around. So come out to the garden office, workshop. So the most economical way to do it was to buy the biggest units that they sell, which is a breakfast bar panel. So I've got two big breakfast bar panels, and I've just actually been designing it on SketchUp, so work out all the cutting for it. So next stage is now cutting this all down to rough size. Back in the workshop, more end panel cutting for the wall dresser unit. So as you can see over here, quite a few components here. So these are the main sides. This is the horizontal board, and then this is for the upper cupboard. So next step is I just need to rig these down to the 400mm deep, which I'm going to do in the table saw. So if you do that now. So now that's 400mm deep, and these are only 350mm high. I've got to find a pencil. Never had enough good pencils. Right, you know, stop. So next step now is I'm going to cross cut them, and I've just set up my cross cut station. This is a Festool cross cut station, so it works with my saw. So this guide rail comes down, and this is all perfectly calibrated to be at a right angle, so we know that when we run the rail along, it's going to be a perfectly square cut. So I'm just going to roughly chop this to size in half, so we're getting two pieces out of this, and then I'll do the final cut. So I've marked this now at 350. So now what I do, get that exactly my pencil off, because I've got 4 of these to make. Now I'm going to set a stop. So now I know every one I do is going to be the exact same measurement, and it's so even if it's a fraction of a mil more than 350, which doesn't matter, all four will be the same. That's the crucial part. So that is now the side. It's quite a small bit. There's actually a small, on the dresser unit, there's actually a small glass door and then a larger glass door, so this goes at the top. So this is just the side piece for the upper part of the cabinet. So 3 more of those to do. Bit of progress on the wall units. So just started to cut down, well, rip this in half, but this is now the right depth, the 400mm deep that we talked about. So these then need to be cut this way, which will give me 4 pieces. That was close there. Which will give me 4 pieces. This will be the main sides for the tall part of the dresser unit. More to come on this. So we're now going to connect to extend this cabinet to make it a more seamless cabinet. So we've got 2 dominoes in here. And I've also done 2 dominoes in here. So we're effectively extending the length of this, like so. So this, if you can imagine, I'll just stand it up. So this is forming the side of one cabinet. And if you imagine the other side, and this out. So this is the dresser unit that's going in the breakfast room. So we have, so I explained before, we've got a tall glass door which goes up to here, and then the upper cabinet has a smaller glass door. So if you're building 2 separate units, you'd often have 2, I didn't want a double thick bottom, as in ordinarily, this is just a test piece I've got. So if you imagine this, just with dominoes as well. So this will bridge across into there. Now normally if you've got a lower and upper cabinet, technically you'd actually have 2 of these pieces, and then they just sit on top of each other. So by doing this and extending this cabinet, it means it's a slightly more seamless cabinet. And then obviously there'll be another piece that goes across there. So this just gets glued in. And then we'll assemble it all together. Now this unit will be a bit clearer once it's fitted onto the dresser. So there'll be a top, there'll be a shelf across here to divide the doors. There's no bottom to this cabinet because this is going directly on the work surface. So because we're going to have appliances and there'll be maybe some drips from the coffee, that'll just go straight onto the quartz countertop rather than having the lip of a bottom shelf. so you've got to be careful. Go too fast and you can soon make a mistake. So, back dominoing. It's got one left to do in the middle, and I'll explain a bit about what's going on here. So, first thing, what about pencil marks? So as you can see, I've done a few dominoes here. So this is the upper cabinet. Let's quickly explain what we're doing here. So this is the side of the main cabinet, and then the upper cabinet sits on top like that, and I'm just going to glue this together with some dominoes. So I'll just actually show you how the side works first. These get glued in on this side. So this is a dry fit. This is what a domino looks like. For the last time, just had to finish running the pipes for the water softener. So the overflow, well, there's a drain and there's an overflow. So the main drain is pumped out. So this is when this runs a regeneration cycle once or twice a day. So this pipe can actually go upwards a metre because it's got a pump on it. It could have went into the waste inside here, but it's all quite tight in here. And then this has also got a drain, which is a gravity drain in case something goes wrong with this unit or if the pump fails to pump out the water. So if you look here, there's actually two pipes that come from the water softener. So this one had to go outside anyway, because you can't put it in the same drain as the main overflow. So in the end, I've run both pipes that go outside now, so you can see them in here, which will, I just need to tidy this, put a bit more of a fall on that one. So I just need to pin these a bit tighter to the wall to make sure the dishwasher doesn't. And then you can see where they just pop out the wall there, and then out the side of the wall and handle is just a drain hopper right outside there, so they drain nicely into there. And obviously that unit will go back and cover all that. So last thing to do, because I had a shorter temporary one which was into the drain, I just need to replace this and put the new one into here, put this back on, and then I can turn the water softener back on, and then that's the water softener all properly hooked up to the drains. And you might also notice the tap is currently just temporarily in this worktop, which is obviously getting replaced, hopefully this Friday. But I'll just quickly put the tap in so I can get progress a little bit of plumbing underneath in preparation. So they'll work on that in the next day or two. So this side of the kitchen is more or less complete now. First things you can see is the new worktop is in. That all fits fine. The upstand's all in. All silicone dried and fine. So that happened a few days ago. Let that dry, and then since then I've fitted the tap, which is now fully functional, and also the separate filter tap. And if you look into here, it's quite hard to see everything now, but all the plumbing is now all in, checked, no leaks. You can see the dishwasher feed also going into there. Got a separate line for the filter tap, which also comes with this little cool little device actually that monitors how many litres, because this tap is good for 4,000 litres apparently, so this is counting down and telling us when we should buy a new one of their filters. So as you can tell why they supplied this device. And then all the electrics are also in over here, which I did on a separate panel just to make it easier to install. So we've got a plug for the water softener, and then I think I mentioned before somewhat randomly we've got 2 feeds that come from the bathroom, one for the towel radiator, one for the underfloor heating, so that's just the isolators for those, and then that one is for dishwasher, which is all labelled with my label maker. And I mean, as you can see, it's a bit messy at the minute, but still space for plenty of stuff. I'm sure we'll buy some organiser for that. So that's all in, no leaks, everything's working. And then dishwasher is also in, working. Already had a couple of loads on that, all good, no leaks, all fixed in properly. And the door, quite happy with how the door spacing turned out. We've got a nice gap on either side, and everything looks quite nice. Everything lines up here as well. Probably a little bit more tweaking to do, but this side is pretty much done now.